I was just walking down the stairs to the basement. First of all, the Keurig filled it too much, mainly because...
Right? No, that's what mine did too.
Mainly because I was impatient. I put milk in while it was brewing the second cycle, and...
Yeah, I did that too. Well, no, so, like, I put mine in first because my Keurig is upstairs, and I was like, I'm not coming back downstairs. Like, I went down to get a mug, and then I was like, I'm not coming back down after, so I put the cream in first, and then I came upstairs, and it was a mistake. I should not have done that.
Yeah. No, my problem was I was walking down the stairs with a 2 full cup of coffee, and I almost tripped on the laces on my slippers, which I should tie now before I forget so I don't die again. I tie them 3 times a day.
I believe that. I believe that to be factually accurate.
I should just get something like... Oh, there's a hot glue gun down here. I should just hot glue them shut. That would be smart. But...
That's either a really good plan or a really, really bad one.
Well, I think they're either pleather or real leather, so we'll see when whatever that smell comes out from them getting hot glue on them. But yeah, no, I almost fell face first down the stairs, and there was a wine rack at the bottom, so I almost died. And I thought you heard...
I can just see you like... No, I heard you talking to Socks and telling him that he made the basement smell like ass.
He does!
But I didn't hear any repeated fuck coming down the stairs. I didn't hear that.
I stopped myself, and I mean, it wouldn't be the first time I've fallen down a flight of stairs. It would be the 4th.
Well, but the first time with a cup of extremely hot coffee into a extremely fragile wine rack with shards that will break your neck.
Actually, not even the first time with hot coffee.
Classic.
But no, the wine rack is quite strong. It's like...
I was mostly talking about the bottles themselves, not the rack itself.
Actually, I think, because all the bottles are facing out, so I think I'd be okay. It's just the wine rack is marble and steel.
What kind of fancy-ass wine rack do your parents have?
I don't know why they bought it. If it's nothing else we own.
It's just their one really classy, fancy possession that they keep in the basement.
I don't know why it's at the bottom of the stairs either. That just seems like a hazard. Because...
Especially if you're coming back down for, like, bottle number 2 or 3. Like, it's not going to end well.
Our stairs aren't that steep. It's fine. I've done it. You just grab... You go down one trip and you just get the one bottle to yourself. Or you send my dad, because that's what I do. And then he yells at me for drinking all his beer. Every damn time. If he would stop...
You should really know this about you by now.
If he would stop brewing more beer, I wouldn't have to drink it. The one time he literally told me, he goes, you gotta hurry up. I need the bottles.
I love your dad.
I do too. And the fact that they're brewing, the Christmas ale is brewing, so... I was supposed...
Oh.
When I was really sick, that was the week I was supposed to zest 6 oranges for it.
Did you remember to do that?
No, because I was dying.
Oh, right.
So
okay.
No one wanted me to touch that. He literally told me, he handed me a cup of ice, like at 6 a.m, and goes, don't leave your room.
Oh. I can see that.
He loves me so much. I helped him shovel snow this week, so he's not too mad. Oh, I guess...
Oh my gosh, so... Go ahead.
I guess we should tell them what they're listening to.
Probably, yeah. That's a good idea.
This is the Cult of Domesticity, a podcast where 2 best friends tell each other stories about history, politics, and true crime. I'm Courtney.
And I'm Ashley.
And we're both slowly dying from winter. Is that...
Slowly and then all of a sudden incredibly rapidly.
My problem is I'm allergic to my house.
Mine is that the car that I'm using is apparently allergic to starting when the temperature is below 0, which it has been for the last 2 days. So yeah, we're doing great.
Yeah, I'm just waiting. Like, did I tell you what's in the garage now?
No.
We have a heater for the animals because the rabbit and the dog, that's where the Schnitzel's crate is. And
Oh, okay. I knew Nanners was out there.
Yeah.
I didn't know Schnitzel was too.
Yeah, so basically I went to go give Schnitzel more water one morning, and we have like those gallon bottles that we just keep refilling to give to her.
Yeah.
And it was frozen. There's about a fourth of it in there and it was frozen. I was like, shit.
Oh, poor thing.
I mean, at least like we rearranged it so they're farther away from the door, and we can't put blankets really in with Schnitzel because she shreds everything. But yeah, we have a heater that so my heater I normally use when I'm down here is now outside. So at least.
And you are freezing.
Actually, no, this fort is quite warm. It's quite.
Okay.
I mean,
well, considering it's made out of like blankets and
pillows,
fuzzy things, yeah, that makes sense.
There's a couple seat cushions. You know,
you get real fancy with it. I just close the door to my bedroom, and that's about it.
That's because there's nowhere in my house that is reasonably quiet. Like,
yeah, that's fair.
There's like, I have to close 3 doors just to make it decently quiet in here. And if I'm up in my room, all bets are off, because if Schnitzel starts barking, you can hear it.
Yeah. So should we get to our topic today?
So our topic, which was supposed to be last week's topic, but I don't know what I'm doing.
And the week before that as well.
Yeah, this was supposed to be a topic for 3 weeks. And shit happens.
It's all good.
Our topic that has been postponed for what feels like forever for us, and you only 1 week, is Martin Luther and the Reformation. And surprise, we're both talking today.
What?
You get a story from both of us.
It's double the awesome and double the annoying.
You missed my beautiful hand motions.
I was imagining them. It's okay.
Okay.
All right. Were they like jazz hands? Because that's what I saw in my brain.
It was jazz hands Vogue.
Oh my goodness.
So you know what I'm doing, because
you got so fancy.
So fancy. Okay.
All right.
Let's start this shit.
Yeah, we gotta, because...
You gotta go work.
Yeah.
I told Lindsay I stopped swearing as much, and the first 20 minutes of this is all swears.
That's funny.
Okay, so Martin Luther, not Martin Luther King Jr., which Google always appears to think I want.
I feel like Martin Luther King was named after Martin Luther, though. I'm probably making that up.
I'll Google it later.
All right.
Okay, Martin Luther was born November 10th, 1483. So we're taking it back real far, y'all. In Eiselberg. Eiselben. Oh, Kayla's going to be so disappointed in me. Eiselben.
She's going to cry.
She's going to cry. She's going to cry real bad. Actually, I have several friends that speak German, so they're all going to cry at me.
They're just going to look at you like you cut me deep, bro.
I know, which is sad because I'm part German. It's what is in now Germany. Germany is not a thing. Just accept it.
It's kind of like Italy.
Yeah. It's the Holy Roman Empire, which is a bunch of bullshit. But...
I love you so much.
He was born to a father who was a copper miner, going down there, getting some copper so he could make some nice things that he probably couldn't afford. And his father was a driving force in his life, pushing him to study at university. And, of course, his father's name was Hans, because, German.
I'm trying real hard not to make a Frozen joke.
Go ahead, you get one.
No, I'm not gonna.
Okay, so Hans was pushing Luther to become a lawyer. So just think about it. Parents have been pushing their kids to become a lawyer for about, I don't know.
Forever. Since lawyers existed.
Yeah, about 500 years.
There's good money in it.
Yeah. And at this time, you're probably most likely going to be a clerical,
That's probably a canon lawyer. So
yes,
like
thank you.
I thought about doing that.
And canon lawyers are not in charge of suing canons. It's church lawyer.
Well, okay, no, it depends, because canon was actually like a position in the church for a hot minute there. So like they could sue them if they broke church law.
I was talking about a boom cannon, but
chirp, chirp, chirp. I see what you did there. I feel like we're gonna have to like pay her royalties at some point.
We'll just promote her blog. It's fine. It's fine. There's a new post coming out. It's cool.
Okay.
So, Martin in 1505 begins to study law at the University of Erfurt.
God bless you.
The sad thing is, I took an entire semester-long course on this. And if you want to really know the reason why we did not do this last week is I was searching for my notebook from that class so I wouldn't have to do extra research. I think I threw it out. I'm really, really sad now.
I like it.
So sad. I cried for like 5 minutes. Okay, so Luther's, going to school, becoming a lawyer, and this is it's like a mystical experience that reminds me of so many myths.
Okay.
That was dumb. No, it's a story that just reminds you of so many creation myths of like big men history. It's great. Ready for it?
Yeah.
Close your eye. I want you to imagine this.
All right.
So Martin Luther riding on, I'm going to guess, a horse or walking. He's traveling in a thunderstorm. And it's such a bad thunderstorm. And he almost gets struck by lightning.
Okay.
And it misses him. And so Martin falls down and cries out to God, if he survives traveling through the storm, he'll become a monk.
So it's pretty much the story of Saul on the road to Damascus.
Saul Paul?
No. Yeah. No?
Yeah. Yeah, Saul Paul.
I mean, we're missing a talking donkey, but everything else is pretty much there.
I thought he went blind. Saul Paul. He was Saul, then he became Paul. Saul Paul.
Yeah. Like Simon Peter. It's the same thing.
I thought there were two.
Because apparently names just up and changed.
You were baptized, asshole. You're the Catholic. Come on.
I know. No, I know. I'm saying, like, Simon, he was Simon, and then Jesus was like, I'm going to call you Peter now. And he was like, all right, cool. And then he built a church on him. And that's how we got here. We not literally actually built a church on top of him, but, like, you know what I mean? Papal succession is a whole thing.
That's what she said.
I don't know where that belongs, but I like it.
It was after he said, I'm going to call you Peter, and he built his church on him, and I was gonna say that's what she said.
Okay. I still don't get it, but anyway.
But
More crickets.
More crickets. Okay. So Martin, much to the chagrin of his father, so just know he disappointed his dad too. It's okay.
Aw, good.
He joined a monastic order. Ashley, do you want to guess which one? Guess which order he joined?
I don't know. Jesuits?
No.
Franciscans?
No.
Benedictines?
No.
I could do this all day. You should probably just tell me.
He became an Augustinian friar.
Damn, I was going to say Dominicans next, because that seems like some shit Dominicans would pull. But anyway.
Wait, God, I'm trying to remember who founded that order.
St. Dominic?
No, Augustinians.
Oh, St. Augustine?
There we go.
Just like the Benedictines were St. Benedict, the Jesuits were actually not Jesus. It was
not Jesus.
I don't remember.
Resident Catholic in the house.
Doing great. And then the Franciscans are St. Francis of Assisi.
Yeah.
Fuck,
I hope you know.
Benedictine. I don't even. That's all getting cut out. Sorry.
I hope you know all my Catholic knowledge either comes from this class that I took on the Reformation, having my dad's side has Catholics in it.
Your aunt who always goes to adoration.
Yes, my great aunt. Yeah. I always tell her to say hi to Jesus for me, and she tells me, Courtney, you should go to church. Like every time.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and then my mom's side's all Lutheran, which we can talk about the judgmentalness of that later. Oh. So, Luther was ordained in 1507. And yeah.
That was quick.
So, yeah, 1505, 1507, yeah.
Now it takes you like at least 8.
Well, the theory is he actually was already pretty religious before he went in.
Well, yeah, but like now there's like a whole formation process that I can tell you about later for religious people. It came after Vatican II, pretty much. Because before that, they would just like take almost anyone.
Yep. So, it seems like he has these like fears of hell, God's wrath, and he needs to gain assurance of his own salvation. Sounds great.
Can we just talk about how if he took an indulgence and been cool about it, that would have been solved his problems?
A lot of things would have solved his problems.
I'm going to put that out there right now. I don't agree with them, but...
Does anyone?
Well, like, not the ones that you can buy, but, like, plenary. Yeah, I guess, but the way they were back then, not cool.
We'll get into that!
I'm sorry!
Stop jumping the gun!
I'm not sorry, actually. This is something I actually knew about, and I didn't have to do a whole lot of research, because it's like, I don't remember the names of my religion textbooks.
Okay. So, he's chilling as an Augustinian friar for a while, and in 1510, he visits Rome on behalf of a number of Augustinian monasteries, and he gets to Rome and is like, shit. There's some corruption. There's some corruption. There's some corruption. There's some corruption. Corruption everywhere.
Shocking.
I know. I feel like that's the only part of the Borgia series that I actually agree with.
Yeah. All the backbiting and corruption and shit.
Yeah, not the incest shit.
Well, no. But.
Okay.
Does make for good TV.
It does.
Just ask Game of Thrones.
But basically, so he's probably traveling for the Augustinian monasteries from his diocese up in the Holy Roman Empire, which they tended to be taxed more than other areas.
Why?
So does
it say why?
Basically, the church would put this is where they would sell more indulgences up there to pay for the lavish palaces and the building projects in Rome.
Oh,
so
okay.
Think of that's more why. So there was already anger about indulgences. He wasn't revolutionary in that sense.
I feel like they did that to like the farther outreaches because they knew it would take longer for them to like get there if they decided to form an angry mob. So they're like,
that is true.
They're like, it's okay. They're farther away. We'll have heads up. It's fine.
And plus, Italy was such a hot mess anyways.
Yeah.
Because at this time, the Pope does have his own army, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yep. So, what are the papal, what's the guards at the Vatican called?
The Swiss guards. So
the Swiss guards had a legit job. Like now they still have a job, but it's much more just within Vatican City. No, the Vatican took over areas in Italy. Like, they were a modern city-state. Yeah. There are the papal states in Italy. Like,
yep.
So the church, like, it wasn't just they were selling indulgences. They're selling, like, bishops' seats. They're selling positions. And this is, like, going farther back to the evidence.
Side note, that's called simony. There's an actual name for it. Like selling or trading on favors to get an appointed position in the church.
Yeah.
Or like selling things that you claim are blessed but never were, stuff like that. That's all called simony. And it's like a sin that if you're Catholic, you have to confess. Like, it's a whole thing.
Was it named because of a dude called Simon?
I think it was named based on Simon Peter, honestly. Like, I might be making that up, but I feel like that's what it was.
I was making a joke!
I know, but like, you know that I could not let that go.
I know. You just put crickets and then be like, Ashley's like, but really, I love talking about Catholicism.
It's not even like, I do, but it's not even that. It's just, this is stuff that I've learned about for literally all 12 years of my primary education.
Okay.
So
that's cool.
Not really.
So, what are indulgences? They are when you can buy basically forgiveness for someone, either living or dead, to keep them out of, for a sin and to keep them out of purgatory. So basically you can shorten your time in purgatory by going up and being like, I'm going to make sure I don't have to go to purgatory. I'm going to go wherever I'm going to go. Yeah. Do you want to correct me on that?
A little bit. So back then, yes, indulgences still exist today, but you can't buy them. They're like, I mean, not even like today, but up until Vatican II, I think they might still be technically a thing, but it's not something that like we still do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But up until Vatican II, after the Reformation and all the shenanigans that went down, there was a reform. Oh yeah, there was a reform on indulgences, and it was basically like if you prayed certain prayers for a certain amount of time, or like if you did certain good works with the right intention, like going into them, that kind of a thing, then it wasn't even like that you'd shorten your time in purgatory, but it was like someone way up the heavy hitters list would intercede for you to where you're more likely to be forgiven for whatever stuff you may have done in the past. But it's not like, so in the Borgias, you know how he was like, I'll give you an indulgence, go kill those people.
Yeah.
And he hadn't done it yet, but he'd already been forgiven. That's not really how, it may have been how it worked back then, but that's not really how it works. So, Catholic nerd moment over. Continue.
Catholic nerd. We need like a nerd alert. Fine. Okay. So it's been happening for a while. There had been some other issues within the history of the church, with the Avignon papacy when they moved the head of the church from Rome to Avignon, France, and there was the problem that
the anti-pope.
Oh my god. We should do one on that because there was at one point 3 popes and they all excommunicated each other. And then they all got fired.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Yeah. But the main problem was there were priests who couldn't speak the native language. And how can you confess to someone who doesn't speak your language? So the church has already been in crisis. This is in the 1200s. But there's still the remnants, so the indulgences are like a holdover from that.
Yeah.
And so Luther begins to really want to delve into these deep theological questions, like Ashley, the Catholic nerd. And he went to Wittenberg to earn his doctorate in theology. So that's always fun, reading all those books. So what? That's what you do.
I
know. And so he's teaching at the university as well, and he becomes a doctor in 1512 of theology. So he worked real hard. It's also a very different system at that point because he would have already had the basis.
Yeah.
The fun thing is, because he's delving deep into scripture, he's reading the Bible in the original Greek. Yeah, in case you were wondering, the Bible was originally written in Greek.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of these problems that we see with the different denominations after Luther is, no, you translated this wrong. This is translated wrong. It means this. It's like literally linguistic semantics. So he really got into the letters written by the Apostle Paul. Is that Saul Paul?
Yes, I
Saul
think
Paul?
so.
Okay.
I'm like 94% sure.
You're my resident Catholic, so.
I know. It's okay.
And finally, the gates of confusion were broken through, and Luther realized he could be saved by grace through faith alone, which is Ephesians chapter 2, verse 8. So this is when we get Luther forming his basic ideas before he wrote his 95 theses.
Can we just agree that's way too many theses? That's a lot.
They're basically bullet points.
I know, but even so, 95, that's a lot, dude. You can narrow that down a little.
He needed my advisor to narrow it down for him.
Get an editor, come on.
So, Luther's points, let's go. Passionately, that Christ's role as the mediator between God and man, that by grace and not through works that men are justified and forgiven of sin, salvation was God's free gift. And he's starting to get attention because it's like, that's a little different. And mind you, I'll post, I found a really good timeline of the Reformation. So you can see there were already people who were starting to question the church long before Luther, as well as long after.
True. Most of them were burned as heretics. Just saying.
Yeah.
Not proud of it, but, you know.
They either, if it was a large enough group, the church would listen to them and adapt their ideas, which they could have, like, the thing is, Luther was working within the framework, so they could have listened to his ideas and adapted them, kind of like appeased him a little bit, brought him back into the fold. So either the message was burnt, so these ideas are so heretical that you get rid of them, or the church would work them back into the fold,
right.
Which the whole thing with Luther could have easily been worked back in, so we could all be Catholic now. Okay.
There's still some people who are like, no, one day we're all going to be one church and it's all going to be Catholicism again.
Yeah, that's definitely not going to happen.
A little too far out of the bag there, but
there's too many branches on that tree.
Yeah.
So, October 31st, Halloween, 1517, which the reason why we were doing this is because it was the 500th anniversary.
Yeah.
But now it's the first episode of the new year, so whatever.
A little late. It's fine.
Better late than never. He publishes his 95 Theses, which he attacks papal abuses and the selling of indulgences, and he's outlining his biblical doctrine for justifying great salvation by grace alone. So, and while he might have nailed the theses to the door, it is not proven. And it is the one thing I really took away. He published them. That's why they spread. If he would have just nailed them to the door, it wouldn't have spread. We have Gutenberg to thank for his printing press.
Right. Because if he'd only done like one handwritten copy, like you tear that down early enough in the morning, no one even knows it happened.
Yeah. So basically, Martin was able to print hundreds of copies, and he did it in Latin. But he's pulling other ideas like from other thinkers, and the Latin means it's going to be disseminated among educated people. But if it's getting reprinted in different languages, it's going to spread faster and spread quickly throughout Europe, which is problematic to the church because not everyone's happy with them. And really this crutch, which is turning him against the beliefs of the Catholic Church, are that, again, you're saved by faith alone and not through works. That really pisses off a lot of people. And he continues to write.
I was just going to say, to be clear, the church always taught that, but didn't always practice it. So, like, they would say one thing, but then do another. And that was probably what upset him more than, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it was just, at the time, they made it seem like you had to do works.
Right, as well.
Like, you had to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, no, you're already saved.
Yeah.
Which, if you ever know about Calvinism, is the complete opposite.
Right.
Oh my God, I hate him. So he writes a series of pamphlets in close to 1520. So you have On Christian Liberty, On the Freedom of Christian Man, To the Christian Nobility, and On the Babylonian Captivity of the Church. And this, along with his 95 Theses, are spread throughout Europe because of the printing press. So other people who may have been part of sects that had disagreed with certain church teachings really take this on. And I think the most significant thing is you can tell he's kind of using his secondary writings to kind of set up a framework for a church. He never planned it originally. When he wrote his 95 Theses, he's like, I'm upset.
Right.
And then he had to be like, shit. People are really, really liking this, and there needs to be a framework because you can't have people like, he hated the aftermath of the Reformation a lot. So so the church was very threatened by this because it was a very prominent public criticism of their authority. And the College of Cardinals said, recant, bitch.
Direct quote.
But Luther was like, show me where it is in scripture. I'm not going to recant. Otherwise, suck my dick.
Also direct quote.
Probably. January 1521. So we're like 4 years out from when not even 4 years, like 3 and some change, of him publishing his theses. And Pope Leo X excommunicates Luther.
Took him long enough.
The reason why Luther gained so much ground is because the Catholic Church took a really long time to get their shit together. Yeah. Do you want to explain what excommunication is for our non-Catholic listeners?
So basically, it means that you're cut off from the church community and from whatever blessings or like privileges being part of that community might have given you. And back in the day, it also meant that like people who were still in good standing with the church were not supposed to like have anything to do with you if you were excommunicated. Like you were literally out of the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they talked to you, then they got in trouble. It was a whole it was scary.
It's kind of like the Amish shunning people, except like you can come back from a shunning. You can come back from excommunication too, but it's like a lot harder and longer process.
The whole city of Florence was excommunicated.
I know, right?
Okay. So Luther is then summoned to appear at the Diet of Worms. Worms. I got that. Worms.
The what?
The Diet of Worms. It's spelled like worms, but it's German.
The diet? Like, that's what I'm hung up on.
Like,
is it like a city or college or what is that?
No, it's like a council. So you have like a meeting. So think of like the G20 summit, like that.
Okay.
Yeah, Diet is basically another, like, it's like a summit. It's a plan, like, so think of it like if you could summon people like to the UN and you meet, but it travels. So they just call it the Diet of wherever they are.
Oh, okay.
So they're in Worms before an assembly of the Holy Roman Empire, which is technically So he's in Wittenberg, so he's subject to the ruler of Wittenberg, but then he's also subject to the Holy Roman Empire, which at this time I believe is a Habsburg.
Probably.
Oh yeah, it's Charles V.
Yeah.
Which, to tell you the truth, the Holy Roman Emperor doesn't have that much power since Charlemagne.
Yeah, not really.
But Charlemagne's my favorite. So the highest officials are at this trial of church and state, because sometimes they're both.
Especially in the Holy Roman Empire.
Oh, yeah. So you basically have leaders of the different states within the Holy Roman Empire and, like, church officials, because some of them are just church run. Like, hey, Luther, renounce your views. You're excommunicated. Come on. You gotta renounce it.
It was pretty much a get your shit together moment. Like Edna Mode in The Incredibles.
No, it's a scared straight moment. So imagine a bunch of German aristocrats and clergy, like, huddling around Luther being like, recant! Follow church teachings! You want to not follow church teachings? You're going to hell! You're going to burn in hell!
So whenever someone brings up scared straight, I think of, there's a bit that Tom Segura does, and he talks about scared straight, and it's like this inmate makes this 16-year-old kid hold his pocket and, like, follow him around holding his pocket, and he goes, I'm gonna make you suck my dick for breakfast, and the kid's like, I don't even like breakfast.
It was probably be like, recant.
It's so funny.
We're gonna make sure you go to hell.
They were like,
there's no breakfast in
hell. They
hell.
were like, hold my pocket. Anyway.
So you should also know there's a lot of, like, debates happening, and basically no one can refute Luther's points. So Luther's like, come at me, bro. I'm a honey badger. I don't give a shit. You can't pull scripture at me. I was doing the John Cena. You can't see me.
With the hand in front of his face.
Yeah. No. Oh, you ain't got no scripture? You can't see me? You can't see me? I wish Luther was this thug. We're making a thug life, Luther.
Just with a giant gold chain around his neck.
No, he wouldn't have had a gold chain. It probably would have been a rope or something. As a result, the Edict of Worms, which is what their, like, little summary, he was banned Luther's writings and declared him a convicted heretic, which means he fucked. That's official terminology.
The direct quote. The end. It just says, he fucked, love, Worms.
Yeah.
That's how they signed
it. Signed by Charles V. With his huge Habsburg jaw.
Right.
So Luther escaped a planned kidnapping to...
I'm like... That's objectively funny.
Well, kidnapping's in quotes.
I know. I remember that part. That's why I was laughing. I was like, it's not a real kidnapping.
No, they tried to they just basically tried to arrest him.
Because he was a heretic at the time.
Yeah, and they're like, if we give him to Rome...
that's what you do with heretics. You arrest them, and then you burn them. Not saying a prayer, but that's what they did.
So he goes to... We're going to have more of my blessed German. Württemberg Castle, where he was hidden by friends for almost a year.
That's a real friend right there.
So...
That's some OG shit.
I know. Well, he was protected by... I feel like it's the Prince of Salzburg. There's a German prince that protects him, like our duke, that protects him for a really long time. He's like, Luther, you cool? Hang out.
Still, though.
I'm trying to keep this short, so I didn't see it. In this time, in 1534, he ends up, he begins in his year of, like, hiding out. And I'm not going to make the joke make the comparison I wanted to make because it's really bad. Okay, so he returns to Wittenberg in 1522, still under the constant threat of death and arrest. You know, think a little bit of the ending of Princess Bride, where Wesley's just constantly, like, he's, like, half dead, and they're like, we're gonna arrest you, we're gonna kill you. Yay. And he works at the Castle Church and continues to preach and teach there and then the surrounding areas. So it might have been the Duke of Wittenberg. I'm going to have to look this up, sorry. Saxony.
Oh, okay.
So, it was the Duke of Saxony. Or the Elector, which is basically the ruler of Saxony. Okay. So, because he's under the Elector's presence, aka ruler, and it's of Saxony, which is another one of those fun Holy Roman states.
Yep, there were a lot of them.
So many. I'll put up a map, and so go to Facebook, and I'll have a map up of the Holy Roman Empire so you can see.
At that time,
yeah,
because it's not a thing anymore.
It's not a thing.
Vatican City is really the only thing that's left of it.
So he's continuing to preach, like, faith, like salvation in Jesus by faith alone, freedom from religious error, and papal authority. And then my favorite thing he does, in 1525, he marries Caterina von Bora, I pronounce it Spanish, whatever, who was a former nun, like an escaped nun, because, believe it or not, at that time, not everybody in a convent wanted to be there.
Again, because they would take literally anyone for any reason at that time.
And basically, for women who had dowries, they would just give it to the convent and they could make them pretty rich.
That's still a thing, though. Because, like, when my sister was going to be a cloistered nun, like, they asked for, I think it was like $500, but they asked for a dowry.
Yeah. These were nicer dowries.
Well, yeah, but in the year of our Lord, I don't know what year it was, like 2014. Maybe it was 2015. I don't know. But
and then, because he is a former monk now, and she is a former nun, they proceed to show he wants to lead by example of how you should lead a good Christian life. You should get married and then have a ton of kids, because they had 6. Just love it.
Well, he had been a Catholic, so 6 ain't that many.
I know.
That was the smaller side of the family.
Oh, you only have 6? Look at you.
Right, like, you're not done yet, right?
In 1534, Luther publishes his complete translation of the Bible into German, showing that he believed people should be able to read the Bible in their own language. So up to this point, the Bible had only been written in Latin, so only the educated could read it.
Did we talk about the differences in the translation?
Yeah.
And why there are different books?
Because they had a meeting about it.
Well, yes, but also the Greek version was missing, I think it's like 6 or 7 books that the Catholic version, which was translated from Hebrew and then into Latin, still had. So by going with the Greek version, there were less books, which was a problem.
Yeah.
Which is never actually fully explained. Like, very often, if that makes sense.
No, I get what you're throwing down.
Like, some people just think he was like, this one doesn't matter, so we'll just throw that out. When, no, it was just that they were using a different translation of the original text. But
yeah, that's the problem. There's too many versions.
Yup.
So, this, like, the fact that it's in the vernacular led to the spread of the Germanic language, as well as kind of showed Luther's kind of dark turn. When he was writing it, it's like he's kind of pretty depressed, especially the year he was, like, hiding out in Wurtemberg Castle. And so he kind of, like, used this as to drive away the devil with the ink. So think of Churchill, who was very depressed. Like, it's kind of something he did to keep his mind busy, keep the demons away. So he translated the Bible.
Right. And he had always been, like you said, a very religious person, a very church-centered person. And I think his criticisms of the church came from a good place and did not have the effect he was looking for. So, like, that would naturally be very depressing to him.
Oh, definitely.
So, yeah, I get that. I can see that.
Yeah. And then there is a peasants' war in the early to mid 1520s in Germany, or the Holy Roman Empire, because the leaders of the revolt use Luther's arguments to justify it. But Luther says, no, you can't do that. You have to have the right of authorities. And this basically turns some people. So you see Luther, the start of the Lutheran Church, but the peasants' revolt causes an offshoot. So then people are like, well, I mean, I liked your criticism, but you're not going to support the people. So then they started, this is where you see the branching off from like the Protestant sects. So aka why we have like 20 billion of them. So his influence is across Northern and Eastern Europe, and Wittenberg becomes the intellectual center of Lutheranism. However, in his final years, he wrote basically essays against, let's go for it, Jews, of course, papacy, the Anabaptists, really any radical wings of the reforming movement.
He's like, you're wrong and here's why, and then an outlined, detailed essay on why they were wrong.
Yeah, basically. Luther returns to Iselberg and ends up dying February 18th, 1546. So he lived a pretty decently long life.
For the time.
Yeah. And so he ended up changing the Catholic Church a lot because there's a Counter-Reformation and like all that. So he caused the Catholic Church to look at themselves, but he also allowed for groups of people that were very unhappy with how Rome was running the church to break off.
He set a precedent.
The only thing that makes me really sad about it is like when they destroyed the cathedrals later on. But so I did send you a lovely YouTube clip.
Yeah, I'm so confused. What is this?
It is my favorite thing. It is a 95 Theses rap music video that is actually pretty good. It gives you a nice insight.
I think we watched this.
We did watch it because we were rooming together when I was taking the Reformation class.
Yeah.
And you told me I made my closet door look like I was plotting a hit in Europe.
You had maps and X's and stuff everywhere. So it did.
But it'll be posted. And enjoy. The only thing that my teacher really got mad about was when he was nailing the 95 Theses. Yeah. She was like, ugh, I can't. It was Renee.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
God bless Renee.
Okay.
But yeah, there's Luther.
So, really
You're
quick,
welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome. Really quick, I want to talk about some of the effects that the Reformation had. So obviously there's a shift in religious thinking. So like Protestantism as a whole and Lutheranism in particular, which weren't things before he was around. And the difference there was that the Bible is the sole authority, especially when it comes to things of moral nature. Like the Catholic Church has always had what we call two pillars of the church, which are scripture and tradition. And basically Protestantism was like, tradition, we're focusing entirely on scripture.
I'm sorry, I had to pull in Fiddler on the Roof. Tradition!
I appreciated it. And so literally up until Vatican II, which happened in 1960 to 62, church services in the Catholic Church were conducted entirely in Latin. The common people didn't know Latin. So when it came to the Reformation, all of these Protestant churches, or most of these Protestant churches, I should say, because probably not all of them, there's probably like one random outlier, but they all changed that to where their services and writings were in the vernacular of the people, so that the language that the common people could understand, so that they didn't depend entirely on the minister or the priest for understanding their salvation.
I don't understand. Why do you want to understand what your priest is saying?
Right.
What's the point? I mean, we already discussed how I had to learn about aliens on Christmas, so.
That arguably would have been a better sermon if it was in Latin. Well, no, so, like, at the time...
What is the Latin word for alien?
I don't know. Like I said, Vatican II was, like, before my mother was even born. Only by, like, a year, but... And it took some time for that to be implemented. But... And, oh, fun fact, even today, there are, they're called traditional Catholics, like trap cats. And I'm not gonna lie, I was one of them for a hot second. But, like, who prefer their church services in Latin and, like, who still wear the chapel veil. And, well, I mean, I do that, but it's...
I know, I was like, really? Hot second?
But, like...
Hot second?
There are also some who are no longer in communion with Rome because they claim that the Vatican II was an abuse of papal authority and not valid. And so they claim they're called sede vacantes, which mean that the seat is vacant. So, like, all of the popes who came after Pope John the 23rd, who, like, called for Vatican II, like, that the church has been empty since then. Like, the papacy has been empty because none of the people who came after who inherently supported Vatican II are valid popes. It's a whole thing. Anyway, sorry, way off topic. But so, because of the criticisms in the church, slow or non-existent in some cases response to them, the church itself lost a lot of credibility. And there was this feeling of anti-authoritarianism and especially anti-feudalism. So, like, they were like, being a serf really sucks and I don't want to do it anymore, so I'm not gonna. Which led to political uprisings throughout Europe, especially against monarchs who still supported the church and who were still...
Can we please talk about that feudalism didn't disappear until the 20th century? Or no, 20th century?
Right.
Hey, Russia, looking at you.
We know you're looking back, it's fine. So, there were also economic effects due to Calvin's financial stability as a sign of predestination shtick, which eventually led to capitalism, so thanks for that.
Fuck Calvin.
For real. But so...
I hate Calvinism. It is the worst.
The actual worst. Sorry, I skipped what I was going to say about the feudalism. The feeling of anti-authoritarianism lent itself to political upheaval and then modern implementations of democracy, especially in places where there were Catholic leaders who were over Protestant subjects. So, like, let's look at France for a second. You had a Catholic monarchy, and there were vast swaths of France at the time that were staunchly Protestant. They were like, we don't want to hear about your Catholicism. Like, we don't acknowledge your rule as valid, and we're gonna kill you for it because fuck you. But then it leads to democracy as we know it today. So, and there were obviously more factors in the French Revolution / revolutions, but that was definitely one of them. I could just feel you staring at me because of my broad strokes here.
No, it's fine because I did broad strokes. Okay. There's no easy way.
There really isn't. Okay, so...
Like I said, I took an entire semester class on this.
I mean, I took 12 years of it, so... I feel you. I feel you strong. I feel you strong. No, I should probably clarify. It's because I went to Catholic school. So, like, we had religion class for all 12 years. So another thing that was challenged in the political realm was the authority of the Pope over monarchs. So even before, so Henry VIII was after this. Mm-hmm. So, like, when Henry VIII set up the Anglican Church, he had a problem with the Pope because the Pope wouldn't do what he wanted, and the Pope was technically above him in the hierarchy at the time, so he's like, fuck the hierarchy, I'm going to be the Pope of this. So, like, that was one instance of the challenging the Pope's authority over monarchs. In that case, it came from the monarch himself, but in other places, like, they would look at the king and be like, he doesn't have to be your boss. But the king would be Catholic, and they were like, yeah, like...
The people are going to the king. He's not your real dad. You want to talk about how messed up that got? I'll find the Holy Roman Empire got like real awkward real quick for family parties.
Well, because like, okay, so Henry VIII was married to Catherine of Aragon, whose nephew was the Holy Roman Emperor at the time. So like,
minor details.
Right. Not only was he like, I don't want to be married to your aunt anymore, he's also like, fuck your religion. So I'm really confused as to how that didn't lead to war. But it kind of did, so,
fun.
There were other things at play there too, but that was definitely, again, a big part of it. So, and I also want to point out, it's not like the Catholic Church ignored Luther's criticism.
No, they just took a hell of a long time to decide on what to do.
Well, and they also kind of cherry-picked which ones they felt were valid, which, like, out of 95 things, yeah, you're going to pick some that are important, some that aren't, but it took them forever and a day to do it. So...
I liked your Miami reference right there.
I say it all the time.
Okay, are you done?
All right.
Thank you for listening to The Cult of Domesticity. We are available on iTunes, Google Play, Chorus, Spotify, and Podbean. If we are not on your preferred app, let us know so we can fix that shit. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. It really is the best way. And share with your friends and family if you like us.
Check us out on Facebook and Twitter at Domestic Podcast and on Instagram at The Cult of Domesticity to get the episode tip, recipe of the week, and additional information about the week's topics. If you'd like to suggest a recipe or a topic, you can email us at domesticpodcast@gmail.com.
High five?
High five.